The polls are closed and ballots are ready to be counted.
There's a lot for voters to weigh in on in this election.
Key races across the state will decide the future of our communities.
We're doing all the things here today. It's going to be very busy.
From your safety to your money, we are tracking numbers across Puget Sound, deciding the future of our communities. Our KIRO 7 November election special starts now.
Voters across the state of Washington are deciding on nearly 3,000 races in tonight's election.
So in King County, the election center in Renton is closed. Good evening, everyone. I'm Monique Minglavin.
And I'm Gary Horker. We've got an entire team of people in our newsroom collecting the numbers out so far.
We also have a large team spread across the Sound from Everett to Seattle and Tacoma, watching all of the mayoral races.
We're going to get out to the watch parties in Seattle. Our KIRO 7 Samantha Lomibaugh is at Bruce Harrell's party in the Columbia City area. First, let's get out to Brandon Thompson at Katie Wilson's watch party, where she's speaking right now.
On that evening, I never could have imagined the incredible outpouring of support and enthusiasm and hard work and this inspiring movement that we have built together and that has made tonight possible. Literally, thousands of people have contributed to this campaign in ways large and small, and that means so much. I am feeling so grateful to so many people right now. And I'm not going to start naming a lot of individual names because I would never be able to stop. And we'd be here all night. But I do want to recognize my husband, Scott. And I'll say, I love you, Scott! And I just want to say, first of all, our campaign slogan, "This is your city." This is your city. That's his idea. And I just want to recognize that being the spouse of a candidate is really hard. And I imagine that being the spouse of a mayor is even harder. So I'm so grateful to be on this journey together with you. So I'm feeling a lot of things right now, but above all, gratitude. And I am going to say a few more names. I want to thank Jake Simpson for reaching out when he heard the rumor that I was thinking of running for mayor, and the whole team at Wind Power for being scrappy rock star consultants and doing such a great job guiding this campaign. And thank you to Jess, our treasurer, and to Sophia for being a trooper. Deepest thanks to Artie and to Alex, who joined our campaign. As staff way back at the beginning when very few people thought that we had any chance in this race. And thank you to our phenomenal field team, to Sochi and Cecile and James and Artie. And our many super volunteers who have been leading dozens of canvases every week all around the city. And to all the union and community allies who have brought their members out to knock on doors. Collectively, we have knocked over 52,000 doors since the primary. And thank you to Matt, who joined our campaign after the primary and has been a phenomenal lead organizer, working with Alex and building relationships with communities across the city. Thank you with all my heart to every single volunteer who has stepped up to work on our social media, with videos and photos, with comms, with policy, with screen printing t-shirts, making buttons, putting up posters. And to everyone who has encouraged their friends and family and communities to vote and helped others to understand what is at stake in this race. There have been so many moving pieces in this campaign and so many people who have a hand in this campaign. And thank you finally to all the labor unions, community organizations, community leaders that took a chance and sometimes great risks supporting this campaign. Your courage courage is seen and appreciated. And last but certainly not least, thank you to the Transit Riders Union. And to all the members of TRU who have been doing this work with me all along the way. I am so grateful for your support and so excited to see the next chapter of TRU unfold in the years ahead. And thank you to Josie. We can't let it go to her head.
That future mayor right there.
And I am just so proud of all of you. I'm so proud that we ran a campaign rooted in hope for the future, not fear or anger. I'm proud that we ran a clean campaign, criticizing the incumbent's record and policies, but not going after his character, his lifestyle, his family, or his past. I am proud of all the voters who have seen past the bad faith attacks funded by the biggest corporate PAC in Seattle election history. Almost $2 million.
We don't like that.
And to all of you, I'm going to tell you now what you already know. If we prevail in this race, which is very possible, it is not the end of our work together. It is the beginning. There is an awful lot that I want to accomplish as mayor. I want everyone in this great city of ours to have a roof over their head. I want universal childcare and free K-8 summer care. I want world-class mass transit. Super blocks, and cheer for the super blocks, and great safe public spaces where kids can run around with abandon. Stable, affordable housing for renters, social housing, and much more land and wealth to be owned and stewarded by communities instead of by corporations.
So you're hearing Katie Wilson there not declaring victory, but projecting confidence as she seeks to unseat Bruce Harrell from the Seattle mayor's office. We're also hearing that Bruce Harrell may be on the move, and perhaps we will get him soon. But you're just hearing from Katie Wilson, feeling good about these early numbers that are coming in, having Bruce Harrell actually up 53% to 46%. But of course, this is the first night of totals. These vote totals usually take strong swings to the left as the days progress. In the primary, let's listen to Mayor Bruce Harrell right now.
Joanne, Chapin, Adam, Katie, recently married about a year ago. My props, my granddaughters, Kai and Emmy. They're theirs. They belong to them. There's something I need to know because they're standing over here that I don't family news or anything? Okay. You know what was really cool? I'm going to talk about the election in a minute. It's just about an hour and a half ago, these two got to shake the hands of Kamala Harris. And then about an hour ago, I got a text from Pete Buttigieg that said, and several other mayors. Now, one of the things I wanted to get off my chest right away is because I have so many friends and family. That's why I don't worry about things. Now we know it's still going to be tight. Now this is still a nail biter. I mean, we know how votes change. I'd rather be where we are right now than where my opponent is. Let me put it that way. So now for those that have faith, then we put it in prayer because I know everyone in here is trying to do the right thing. I said that earlier. That was my pre-warm-up speech. That in our family here, we talk about love and faith and supporting one another. We never argue. Leave it this way. I'm usually the victim of an argument. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. But let me tell you, when our family argues, this one, and this one are always on my side. I pay them to be on my side. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. The point about family is we're all family now. We are all family. This is a tough fight, and I could go to every table and shake every hand and talk about my history with you or my family's history with you. Many of you are friends of the family. We know, as I said earlier, that the fight we're trying to fight are to shelter and house people. We know that. We're trying to feed people. People are out of SNAP benefits. There are people hungry right now. There are people worried about where they're going to sleep right now. You care. It really upsets me when people don't think that we don't care. We've been doing this work for decades and decades. We didn't just start doing this work. I have some folks out there, and I have to ask this transparently. I got every darn station here, but I don't care because the gloves are off. How did the education levy do? I didn't see any numbers on that. What? Now let's talk about that. Because I have folks here that work really, really hard on putting that together. So what's that going to present for our great people here? 4,500 slots of daycare and pre-kindergarten slots for our kids. $20 million in mental supports for these kids who are traumatized to be able to talk to someone to get treatment. Every kid that graduates from Seattle Public Schools will be able to go to college 2 years for free. Because the city passed that. You know, I'm going to close by saying this, that the next several days, we'll all look at the ballots. We'll all, thank you for being here, Sister Don Mason. You know, be out here too. Come around here and come out here, Don. Come on around here. You're the auntie. Don't try to get this way, though, auntie. It's a little... Yeah, Tony, Tania, come on up here. Come on up here. Murray, Marsh, come on up here. Come on up here. Come on, goddaughter. Come on up here, goddaughter. I have to represent the Japanese side, too. I can't just do one-sided on this deal. This is the clan right here. And you are the family now. So we're going to count each vote. We feel pretty good about this. Let me say this. We got a lot of votes at the last minute here. I mean, a lot of votes. So we are winning right now. Let's put it up in prayer. Pastor Anderson, I thought I saw Pastor Anderson here. Wait, come on up here, Pastor Anderson. Come on up here. Come on up here too, Pastor Anderson. So you got to... I'm going to close by saying this.
Well, there you hear Mayor Bruce Harrell feeling pretty good tonight. So we heard him kind of celebrating, also his challenger kind of celebrating. So we need to talk about this and get some context here.
Yeah, let's introduce the people who are flanking us. We have our political analyst tonight, the chair of the Director of Communications for the Washington State Democrats, Stephen Reed. Thank you for joining us. And Republican strategist, our old friend Alex Hayes. Thanks, fellas, for being here. We want to break this down. Harrell's up by 8,319 votes. It's still early.
7 percentage points.
Yeah. Is this what you expected? First of all, Stephen.
I didn't have any expectations going into this. It does seem like Seattle voters were looking to have another change election based off of the primary results. And so if I were Bruce Harrell's team, I would be glad that I'm up on election night, but know that there's a lot of work left to do as those ballots come in later and skew towards the more progressive challengers. If I'm Katie Wilson's team, I'm popping champagne tonight because I feel like they think they're probably going to make it up in the coming days.
And what we should explain to people again is that in the primary, Katie Wilson was ahead by 1 percentage point on election night and gained 9 more percentage points by the end of the vote count. But already, Alex, at that point, Bruce Harrell was saying, this is a small turnout. When you get greater numbers in the general election, those numbers will break my way. If you were working for his campaign right now, how would you feel with a 7% lead?
I would feel pretty good, and because the general election is fundamentally better for Harrell voters, better for Bruce Harrell. It's a more centrist, more moderate group that probably saw Wilson's positions as somewhat radical. They also probably questioned the quality of a resume. Bruce has an excellent resume. He's been serving the people of Seattle for essentially 2 generations, which is, I think that's an accurate description. But the one number that I think Bruce's people are probably focused on, or they could focus on, is how much better they performed than Ann Davidson. And so here we see Davidson having a very bad night at 37%, and yet Harrell is 16% above that. Now this tells me that Harrell captured a significant fraction of that progressive left. And so whereas in the past we've seen candidates like Shama Sawant have a pretty big gap between election night and the end of the election, some fraction of those people are still going to be going with Harrell. So that's going to mute that big run-up.
Adding to that point, I'm looking at the Council Position 9 race. Sarah Nelson, below her challenger, she only has 42% of the vote right now. Dion Foster has 58%. So to your point, that is another race that does not reflect the same divide that's in the Wilson-Harrell race.
Well, I think it also means that Harrell successfully persuaded a sizable fraction of progressives to stick with him, in addition to establishment Democrats and the fraction of Republicans who still live in Seattle.
Stephen, is it fair to ask to that point if the progressive voter who helped Katie Wilson win in a landslide in the previous election by 10 percentage points, could they have changed their mind here?
There may have been some folks who changed their mind. You saw a lot of spending in this race, especially after that primary. I think it was $1 million after the primary on behalf of Bruce Harrell. That definitely is going to have an impact. What's going to be most important is what does the electorate look like for the rest of the days as we continue to count these ballots. We know that Katie Wilson's base is a later voter than Bruce's base. And so we're seeing Bruce's base in tonight's numbers. We don't know what Katie's numbers will look like as we move forward.
Speaking of Katie Wilson, Brandon Thompson is with her live right now to get her reaction to these numbers that have just dropped. Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different in the sense that we knew from the first moment in the primary that we were going forward to the general. So here there's much more of a kind of a question about the result and what's next. But yeah, again, we're feeling hopeful, and I think I've learned to deal with a lot of stress and uncertainty over the course of this campaign. So we'll just be carrying those lessons forward for the next week or two.
Anything you're planning on doing on waiting over those results dropping over the next few days?
I mean, I will say that I will continue to prepare for assuming that I am successful in this race. We have a lot of wheels turning in terms of preparing for the transition process, and so that work will continue because if I'm successful, I want to be able to step into office and lead from day one.
And again, this is within the range you all were expecting?
Yes, yep.
We have 3 more questions, guys.
Can you tell us more about planning for the transition process, what that looks like over the next...
More will be revealed, so yeah, not saying too much right now. Yeah.
Well, Gary and Monique, we started this interview a couple minutes ago with Katie Wilson. She says the 46 or so percent that she got through this point in the primary, that was within what her campaign was expecting. She said it was a relief seeing that number within the range that they anticipated. So again, it's that waiting game that we play in Washington and King County, especially for the next couple days, watching those results, watching those margins grow or shrink depending on what side of the margin they are on. But Katie Wilson feeling optimistic heading into those next few days of results coming in.
Thanks so much, Brandon. Yes, Seattle will have to wait days probably to get a definitive answer in that race. But what Tacoma knows right now is they will definitely have a new mayor. That's because the current mayor, Victoria Woodards, has hit her term limits. Madeline Audley right now is keeping her eye on that race as well as what else is going on in Pierce County. Madeline?
Yeah, I mean, certainly a big race for Tacoma. 4 city council seats that are up tonight, as well as the mayor's race. We are joined here by Anders Ibsen, the man of the hour at his watch party. Up against John Hines tonight. You've got an 8 percentage point lead here in the first few minutes of results. What does that feel like?
Extremely grateful, but the work is just beginning.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this has been a long race for you guys, and throughout this, you've been compared as similar. You actually raced for a council seat against each other a decade ago, back in 2015. What has it been like to have Hines as an opponent in this campaign season once again?
Well, I don't see John as my opponent. He's my colleague. I have to work with him for 2 years, and he's a really bright, hardworking guy, and I'm looking forward to benefiting from his and the rest of my colleagues' hard work and making sure that we're collaborating on the challenges facing our city.
Let's talk about something that we spoke about earlier tonight. What sets you apart as a candidate? I mean, John Hines isn't here, so to give him credit, he has said to me that he feels like his political experience, the work he's done in council, his work to extend the no camping ban that just passed last month, those are his biggest achievements. What sets you apart as a candidate instead?
Sure. Well, I mean, we're both lifers. We both love the city. I mean, I'm a small business owner. I've had a different set of experiences on the council, but at the end of the day, the voters have spoken, and it's time for us to not look backward, but look forward and how we can work together.
Well, I know you got a big party here, and you're a busy man tonight, so we'll let you go enjoy your race. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Again, that early result right now, we're looking at about 54% are coming in right now, and they're just scrolling through to see if there's another update. I don't know if they're going to be able to make it in time, but obviously that 8 percentage point lead is exactly what a candidate wants to see. We will be monitoring very closely and bring you the latest here from Tacoma. Live in Tacoma, Madeline Ottley, KIRO 7 News.
Anders Ibsen sounding pretty happy tonight. Thanks so much, Madeline. I do believe that we do have a graphic right now to show those very numbers that you're talking about in the race for the next mayor of Tacoma, with 60% reporting Anders Ibsen with an 8% lead over his challenger, or the other challenger, John Hines.
With 60% reporting, still a lot of votes to count. We're also keeping an eye on Tacoma, the Tacoma mayor's race. We had that. So we're going to take a look at the Everett mayoral race between Cassie Franklin and Scott Murphy there. Franklin took office in 2018 as the first female mayor of the city, seeking a third term. Murphy, a former city council member in the August primary. Murphy, by the way, won with a narrow margin of just 65 votes. By the way, Murphy is, and we're going to get that back up in a second. We just had that scoreboard just taken away from us. But we can talk about this. Murphy basically on a platform of fiscal responsibility and public safety too. He wants to commit more funding to the police department in Everett. We know that.
And in the primary, he won, as you just mentioned, with just over 60 votes above the incumbent Cassie Franklin. And this is a mayor that the last time around, when she won her second campaign, she won with 72% of the vote. So this clearly a much, much closer race. Right now, we're saying just over 13,000 votes reported right now. But Cassie Franklin, the incumbent mayor of Everett, with a 53% to 47% lead over Scott Murphy.
That is a razor's edge.
Yes, it is.
And in the highly anticipated Seattle mayor's race, the aforementioned challenger Katie Wilson looking to take over from the incumbent Bruce Harrell. Harrell's obviously seeking a second term. It's been a long time since Seattle re-elected a mayor, acting mayor of Seattle from September 13th to the 18th, 2017. He was re-elected in 2021. And we see right now that he's up by about little over 8,300 votes. And as Monique mentioned, 7 percentage points at this point.
Still lots of votes to count, many more days of totals that will come in before that race can be called, we certainly know. And now we're going to move along to our next race, hopefully, which will come up here.
Well, we could talk about this while we're waiting for the numbers to come in. One of the challenges of reporting results, you're on election night, and we've been through a few of these. As late as it seems tonight, it's still really early for the numbers because the very first vote totals are preliminary and they only show ballots counted so far. It's painstakingly slow,
yes.
And it's released right after the polls closed, which was 8 o'clock.
Yeah, as we mentioned, it often takes days to tally ballots dropped in boxes at the last minute and those that are mailed in making their way in as well. So let's look back at the August 5th primary to show you what we're talking about here. In the race for Seattle mayor, challenger Katie Wilson was already leading incumbent Bruce Harrell after the first ballot drop that night, but only that razor-thin margin of 1%, or about 1,300 votes. That left Harrell and his supporters clinging to the hope that later counts would turn the tide. But Wilson's lead grew and grew and grew, and by the time results were certified 2 weeks later, she was declared the winner with a whopping 10% margin over Harrell and over 50% of the vote, which is significant.
And also on primary night, challenger Erica Evans jumped out to a commanding lead over incumbent Seattle City Attorney Ann Davidson, and Dion Wilson celebrated a healthy margin over incumbent City Council member Sarah Nelson. Those leads held up as the ballots were finally certified. Took a few days, though. And of note here, historical data shows 91% of primary winners win in the general election. So this could indeed be a bumpy night for the incumbents who are holding on to their seats for now in Seattle.
Lots of bumps. Let's get over to Elle Thomas right now. She's keeping tabs on the King County executive race. How is that shaping up, Elle?
It is a battle of the King County Council members here. Guys, this is pretty huge. This is the first time a new person will be elected to that seat in 16 years. So Dow Constantine had held that spot until he stepped down to take on a role as CEO with Sound Transit in April. So on the ballot now, we have Claudia Balducci and Gurmai Zahilai. Zahilai coming out on top in the primary with 44% of the vote. And in this first drop, I mean, wow, they are neck and neck. Zahilai leading by just 4,300 votes. That is such a small margin when you are talking about each candidate having 130,000 plus. Both have very similar stances and consider themselves progressive Democrats. So that's kind of presented a tough choice for voters, Gary and Monique, just because of how similar their stances are.
That's going to be another interesting race to certainly cover over the next coming days as well. Lots of question marks remaining. Thanks a lot, Elle.
Okay, we're going to get out to KIRO 7's Jason Sloss, who's live for us at the campaign watch party in Everett. Jason, what's the mood in there? We saw Cassie Franklin in there very early.
Well, it seemed like this race might be a tight one, but the mood here very upbeat as those early numbers came in with Franklin with a 5-point lead over her opponent, who she just narrowly lost to in the primaries, former Everett City Council member Scott Murphy. As we've been going over, just beaten Franklin by just 65 points, or rather 65 votes in that primary. Now, earlier tonight, I was talking with Franklin before those numbers came out, said she was very nervous, very excited, anxious to get those initial numbers in. And before they came in, I asked her what she was hoping that voters were keeping in mind before they cast their ballots.
We are on a really positive trajectory. We have new businesses coming here. Crime is down. Clearly, there's always more work to do, but I think that voters are hopefully seeing that Everett is better today than it was 10 years ago.
So she has been here thanking all of her very happy supporters, lots of smiles. I asked her how confident she is right now about these initial numbers. She said if it was more up towards 6.5%, 7%, she'd be quite a bit more confident. But keeping an eye on things, of course, here, and we'll have more coming up tonight at 11. Live in Everett, Jason Sloss, KIRO 7 News.
Hey, Jason, if you can hear us, the mayor right now, what did she say she's hoping to add upon if she gets a second term? Like, what is she going to change? Did she tell you that?
Well, she said that these campaigns kind of bring into focus, once again, the importance of community engagement. So she's basically saying if she keeps the job, then that's something that she wants to keep in mind, having more community engagement, involving the voters in big decisions and moves that are made in the years ahead.
Jason Sloss live for us in Everett. Thank you, Jason.
Now let's go to this. It is lights out at the voting center in Renton right now. KIRO 7's Jake Chapman has been at King County elections in Renton all evening. He's live now with how turnout has gone. So Jake, now the real work begins for election workers, or continues, we should say.
Monique, I think you said it best right there. The party may be over for voters to get those ballots to ballot drop boxes throughout the county, but that party right now is inside as election workers are bracing for a very long night. Well, really busy few days ahead of them. But before all of that, out here earlier at King County's elections, we saw plenty of people in the parking lot rushing to the ballot drop boxes to get their vote in on time. But we had to catch up with a couple of voters who were in line at the ballot drop box earlier just to ask them, was it easy for them to get here, and was the process kind to them as well?
I opened my voter registration thing today, and I spent lunch going over things, so it was very easy to vote and make decisions.
It's important for us to be able to get our voice out and to get the vote out.
About voter turnout here in King County. King County elections, we're expecting about 45% turnout in this election. So we got some numbers a little bit ago. Right now, they're at only 20.25% of turnout. And according to the Secretary of State's office, who has been keeping track of how many ballots have been returned so far, they say that 25% of the ballots right now have been returned here in King County. Of course, right now, standing in the parking lot of King County elections, it's a lot quieter now. But again, a lot of work going on in here. We're going to have more of a breakdown of what voter turnout could look like at the end of it all. Again, that story is going to be for you tonight at 11. Live in Renton, Jake Chapman, KIRO 7 News.
Thanks so much, Jake. Now let's talk about this a little bit more. We have Alex Hayes and Stephen Reed with us to talk about these races that we've been getting numbers on right now. We talked a little bit about Seattle and King County. Let's talk a little bit about Tacoma now, where we have these two people vying to be the next mayor. We know Victoria Woodard's has stayed out of this race. She's term limited out. How steady do you think these numbers are, Stephen?
I think we are going to see that the numbers hold out as we move forward. Tacoma is a little different than Seattle with the makeup of the electorate and how those voting patterns work out. It is still very early days, so it's hard to say definitively, but if I were in the lead in Tacoma, I'd be much more secure than say Mayor Harrell in Seattle.
Alex, what do you think motivates the voter in Tacoma as the votes, the people that just flooded the boxes today?
Yeah, well, Tacoma has always been, it's where I live, so it's more kind of the working class, a little slightly friendlier version of Seattle, and so I always have loved it. And Anders has previously served on the county council or city council. He's a personal friend of mine. He's very intense. But I say that with a lot of affection.
With love.
Yeah, and which I think is actually probably going to make him a better mayor than Hines. Hines was very low-key, very much part of this establishment that I think has not done a particularly good job in Tacoma these last several years. So I think Ibsen will bring a certain sense of reform energy, and Ibsen probably is a good step to the left of Hines, and so it's probably atypical for the Republican to say that the further left person is going to do a better job, but that's what I believe. And I think that obviously the voters of Tacoma agreed with my assessment. The 6-point margin there is going to stand. I mean, if there is sort of a late motivated voting population, it would be further left. Again, that's not really exactly part of Tacoma's story, but if it is, it's going to lift up Ibsen.
Hines championed the camping ban, that ordinance that we just talked about within the last week. I'm wondering if that swayed anybody.
Well, you would think it would, but again, if you're showing up a week before the election with a major policy pronouncement, I think it's reasonable for the voter to ask, did you really mean it?
Shifting up to Everett in Snohomish County, Cassie Franklin, the incumbent there, mayor with a 5% lead. We're just talking about how Seattle can have these wild swings. Tacoma's a little bit more stable. How about Everett?
I agree. I think Everett is in the same boat as Tacoma. More stable, it's more working class. They've got the military base there. You're seeing folks who are voting early, and the folks who voted early supported the incumbent. And she's had a pretty great track record. Now, the fact that she's talking about her plans for a second term, I think shows you that she's feeling confident.
And so if tomorrow it stays at that 5%, you think she's going to feel pretty...
I'd feel pretty good if I were her.
Great.
We're going to get back over to Al Thomas at the live desk for an early check of the Seattle City Council spots. What do you got, Al?
So we have 2 at-large seats up for grabs, meaning they represent the entire city instead of just a single district, and then 1 district seat. So let's go ahead, dive into those at-large positions, starting with position 9. So current City Council President Sarah Nelson looking to keep her seat over challenger Dion Foster here. Foster held a heavy lead over the incumbent in the primaries. Take a look at your screen, though. Looks like she is maintaining that lead in early polling by about 18,000 votes. Let's turn to position 8 now. Alexis Mercedes Rink looking to run for a full term on the city council. She was elected to the spot in a special election last year. And you know, Rink really swept challenger Rachel Savage in the primaries. Looking to keep those numbers going strong, and oh boy, is she up by 60,000 votes there. Now, the only district seat, District 2, that is representing Southeast Seattle. Tammy Morales left this spot earlier this year. Eddie Lynn had a lot of support in August. Way less votes here being counted thus far, just 9 1,000 versus 4,000. But take a look. He is still maintaining that support that he saw in the primaries. And finally, let's hit Seattle City Attorney incumbent Ann Davison, hoping to keep her spot. She was the first Republican elected in Seattle in nearly 30 years in this position. Challenger Erica Evans leading in both the primaries and early polling, and certainly tonight as well. Almost 30,000 votes there separating the two. So we have a lot at play. So far, we are still waiting for a number of ballots to be counted, but pretty wide margins across the board. So a little later, we are going to look at the statewide constitution change, tax increases for Gig Harbor, and then a wage boost for Olympia. Gary and Monique.
Thanks so much, Elle. So much coming in quickly now.
It's coming in. King County Executive Claudia Balducci and Gurmai Zahalai will be replacing current King County Executive Shannon Braddock, appointed in 2025 after Dow Constantine resigned to lead Sound Transit. I think we were looking for numbers there as well. And then after that, we're going to talk about State Senator District 5, Victoria Hunt versus Chag Magandans. Hunt, the current state senator and former state rep, Magandans, former Microsoft developer in Issaquah, school board president and two-term state rep. And you see right now, Victoria Hunt holding a 10-point percentage lead over Chad Magandans.
And this is a race that a lot of people had their eyes on because Republicans are hoping to break the Democrats' supermajority in the state Senate. And to do that, they needed to pick up a seat. This was one of the ones that they were really having their eye on. It doesn't look like they're going to do it at this point. I don't know how solid our guests believe the numbers to be, but I doubt any Republicans are popping those champagne bottles right now. And then do we have more numbers? We do. For the Pierce County Council District 5 seat, this is Brian Yambe, who is the incumbent, who is leading his challenger, Terry Wise, by 10% right now. Yambe was appointed to the council this year. This would be his first elected term. He previously served 4 terms on the Fife Council, and Terry Wise is a real estate broker.
We're going to swing over eventually to Senate District number 5. Well, we've got that now, and we've got the Hunt versus Magandans. If everybody's scoring at home, we're just going over this again.
A reminder of the sort, right? And then we also
this
have
is a big one.
District 26.
Yeah. So this race actually got some substantial amounts of money from what I've heard from outside of that area, because Michelle Caldeer right now, I believe she's the 6th-time office holder right now, is right now losing to Deb Krishna Sandan.
Krishna Dasan. Who's actually,
right?
yeah, she's the incumbent. Michelle Caldeer is a current state representative trying to get this state Senate seat right now. Let's come back out to our guests who are going to really kind of dive into these races, because these do have implications statewide, even though they are on really looking at 2 different races in the state Senate, at least. You're a Democrat. You're happy right now.
I'm extremely happy, extremely relieved. These have been our top 2 priorities this entire year. Now that we're seeing even better results than in the primary for both of these incumbents, we are extremely thrilled, and we expect that those trends to continue as we continue to count ballots. This is especially impressive because Deb Krishna faced nearly $2 million of outside spending to try and defeat her. Clearly, the voters there wanted Democratic leadership, and they showed out, and they showed up today, and I expect them to keep showing up in the ballots that are yet to be counted. This is a great day if you're a Democrat in Washington State. These mean that we are keeping our strong legislative majority. It is not a supermajority in the Senate yet, but we hope to be there soon.
Alex, what do you think?
Well, getting back to Champaign, there's a great line from Winston Churchill that winners deserve it and losers need it. So no matter what side of the equation you're on, Champaign is always in order. One of the most fascinating things about this election is that there was a coalition of 4 people, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, who said if they prevailed, that they would work together to bring the state back to the center. So I sort of want the voter to think about, how is the future of Washington going to unfold from this date forward? And I would recommend that you sort of like think about that stopwatch that's on your phone, hit the lap mark. And from this date on, I think you're going to see Washington becoming less and less habitable, less and less employable, less and less happy, less and less safe. And other states like Idaho are going to start becoming much more successful compared to us. And that is in part because of the Democratic Party moving so far to the left and adopting sort of like nationwide, globally, policy that stands out. I've had conversations with communists in Eastern Europe where they're like, oh my gosh, what are those crazy things they're doing out there in Washington state? A very unusual thing that would be brought up by a communist. And yet that's what we're seeing here. And so one thing I will note, though, is that of those races, of those 4 who promised to be that sort of centrist coalition, Schilling is up in LD 33. And in terms of the total spending in LD 26, you might have been left with the false impression that Democrats were outspent. That's not true. There was a vast amount of spending on behalf of the incumbent Democrat senator, some of it very problematic ethically, I would argue. That in one day, the Senate Democrats simultaneously said that Michelle Caldier was a rhino and too liberal to vote for, and also that she was a MAGA right-wing kook. The same organization, the same human, the same person, the same voting record, being described in a very radically different way. Unethical, I would argue.
My producer's trying to get us to move along, but after that, we need to give you some time because Alex threw out some hand grenades there.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Truth grenades.
The communist, yes.
Well, let's just say that Washington State is the most beautiful place to live in. I don't see anyone who wants to go to Idaho, given that they are shutting down their maternity wards because they don't have doctors because of the abortion ban that's over there. What we have seen in the Washington state legislature, especially amongst the Washington GOP, is a full embrace of the MAGA Trump budget. In fact, Michelle Caldier supported the Medicaid cuts. State Senate Minority Leader John Braun supported those Medicaid cuts, which are going to force millions of Americans off of their health care. So if we're talking about extremes, let's just call it what it is, that the current Republican National Party is the most extreme version of it that we've ever seen before. And so it's laughable to me to be cast with that broad of a brush here in Washington state when we have extremely diverse views from Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez in Southwest Washington to Manila Jayapal here in Seattle. And that's because Washington Democrats run people who reflect their communities. And clearly the people of LD 26 felt that Deb Christian Dawson most reflected their community.
We're going to cool you back both off with some glasses of champagne, figure it ever, as we go back out to Pierce County, where Madeline Ottley is at an election party right now, and she's taking a look at the mayor of Tacoma race. Anders Ibsen with a 54% to 46% lead over John Hines. Let's get out to Madeline right now.
People here at this karaoke bar in the Hilltop District for Anders Ibsen, they are so confident tonight. We actually heard from him. He spoke not very long, pretty short speech, but he said he was really thankful. He was feeling confident, and he said this is not the end of the work. This is the start of it. The work begins tomorrow. Again, feeling very confident in his chances that he is going to secure a victory. I mean, he definitely had a strong lead we saw in the primaries. You can see the party for yourself here. I had someone in the newsroom comment earlier. It feels like we are at a rave. It's actually been clearing out as some of these early results have come in. People, again, feeling so confident that their candidate is moving forward. You know, it's funny, Anders Ibsen and John Hines, they have a lot in common. They were seasoned politicians, and exactly 10 years ago, they raced each other for another election, a council seat. That was back in 2015. Ibsen won that race. Now, in this campaign, Hines has pushed his political experience, his projects in council, including his measure to expand the city's camping ban that passed last month. Ibsen has pushed his professional experience as a business owner and his accomplishments back when he was on council, including passing protections for renters. We're getting some notice here on turnout as well. Not a lot of people in Pierce County turned out to vote. The early results are showing about 19%. But again, with that 8 percentage point lead right now, things here in this camp, they are feeling good. We, of course, are tracking that minute by minute as the night goes on. Live in Tacoma, Madeline Ottley, KIRO 7 News.
Thank you, Madeline. Madeline's down south. From there, we're going to swing to the results up north. Snohomish County Council District 5, Kelly Johnson, the Democrat, versus Sam Lowe, the Republican. Lowe, the current Snohomish County Councilman in Washington State Representative District 39. And you see Kelly Johnson right there pulling away. But what, 2,000, a little over 2,000 votes there.
And that's with the 90% reporting. And we move on to the mayor of Everett race with 90% reporting. Incumbent Cassie Franklin with a 6% lead over her challenger, Scott Murphy, right now. She was speaking to us earlier tonight. She said she's optimistic, but she is not declaring victory yet. And of course, we're going to keep our eyes on those numbers over the next couple of days as well.
Thomas, Elle, what do you got for us?
So right now we're taking a look at a couple of different things. One is a measure that would actually change the state constitution. So we are talking about Senate Joint Resolution 8201, and it would allow the state to invest money that is currently reserved for long-term care into the stock market. So when we're taking an early look at the numbers here, it does look like this will be approved. Proponents arguing this could be a huge moneymaker, and you can see the votes for yourself there. 140,000 or so separating the two. Opponents, though, saying the money needs to be invested in safe options like CDs and bonds. It does need 50% approval to pass, and it did come before voters just 5 years ago, and it failed with 46% of the vote. Let's go to Olympia now, where Prop 1 is on the ballot. This is the Citizen Initiative for Fair Wages and Fair Schedules. Right now, the noes have it. They're leading the pack by about 1,000 votes. This measure setting schedules and safety rules and a $20 minimum wage for large employers. But opponents say it's confusing, unfunded, and could force nonprofits and small businesses to close. So we're still seeing just about 64% reporting right now. Very slim margins, too. Let's go ahead and move on to the city of Gig Harbor and Prop 1. That is a sales tax increase. So far, voters saying, hey, we are not okay with that tax bump. But check out the votes there, less than 500 separating the yeas and the nays. This proposition equates to about a penny on a $10 purchase, and it would benefit local nonprofits, so arts, history, and science organizations, as well as educational programming. Of course, you did just see, though, we saw 60% reporting for Gig Harbor, Prop 1, 64% there for Olympia. So those things could definitely change with these really tight margins and just 40% outstanding ballots there. Gary and Monique.
Thanks so much, Elle, for taking us through all of that. We're going to shift back now to one of the biggest races that people have been following tonight. That is Seattle's race for mayor. Incumbent Bruce Harrell with a 54% lead over his challenger, Katie Wilson. We've heard from both of them tonight, both of them feeling pretty confident, pretty good about the numbers that they're seeing, knowing that we have many more days in front of us to count subsequent votes.
Yes, and we were going to go out to live to Sammy Lomibao, who is over at Harrell's headquarters. Do we have Sammy live here?
Wow, it looks like it's cleared out a little bit, Sammy.
You could probably hear us now, huh?
There's still a lot of people. I think people are just mingling. There was a lot of excitement. We spoke to Bruce Harrell just about 10 minutes ago to check in with him, and he is confident. He is excited. The night started off with some nerves, but now that he has that 7-point lead currently over Katie Wilson, he's feeling pretty good, but he knows that it's not over yet. He wanted to talk about victory, and victory is in his family. It's the support that he's had. It's the last 4 years as being mayor. Again, if he were to be reelected, he'd be serving his second term as Seattle's mayor. He was elected back in 2021, and he'd be the first Seattle mayor elected to a second term in 20 years. So yes, we heard from Mayor Harrell. You can see there's a lot of people, a lot of excitement, a lot of confidence. We heard some woos earlier, but Mayor Harrell knows that it is not over yet. He is still looking forward to what's going to come in the next couple of days, but one thing we can say is he is confident. Live in Seattle, Samantha Meebaugh, KIRO 7 News. Back to you guys.
Thanks so much, Sammy. You know, it's very odd. There's lots of confidence to go around in Seattle right now, from the Harrell camp also to the Katie Wilson camp, where she's feeling pretty good tonight, too.
Yeah, we're going to go right now to Brandon Thompson.
Yeah,
in
that's
Seattle.
right. I think that is.
Yeah, Brandon, you had a chance to talk to Katie Wilson before. She looked very, very optimistic and in a really good mood as she left about, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I think both candidates being somewhat confident is a sign that you're covering a Seattle election, but kind of want to walk you through the evening. We saw the whole campaign team kind of huddled in a corner when the results first dropped. There were some looks towards each other, and then some reassuring, these are what we kind of anticipated. So then Katie Wilson got up on stage. She called the results promising. She told her supporters that they would be pulling out all the stops over the next couple weeks. And then when we talked to her afterwards, she said the 7-ish% margin, that is within the range that they were expecting. They expect that even though that there's 46% of the vote out for her right now, the later ballots that come in today, or tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, the course of next week, she and her team believe those will lean in her favor. So again, some optimism from her side. She says her team will be working to cure every ballot, reaching out to voters who have problems with their ballots. They don't know what the result of those ballots are, but they just know from the elections office that either a bubble wasn't filled in right, a signature wasn't right, and then the campaigns go and ask those voters to correct those ballots. So she says her team will be hard at work over that over the next few days. But just to put it in a word, they're feeling optimistic tonight.
They are counting on those later votes. There are going to be a lot more votes in this general than in the primary, so we'll see how that breaks. Brandon Thompson, thanks so much for your reporting tonight.
Okay, in King County, voters are going to decide whether or not to renew property taxes for Medic One services, and these first responders go to calls ranging from heart attacks to helping shooting victims and trauma like that. Services like these are funded by property taxes, but after 6 years, that levy is expiring. King County wants to renew that for another 6 years. For someone who owns an $844,000 house, the median property value in King County, you'd pay $211 in taxes next year. That funding goes to 23 separate fire departments, 5 paramedic agencies, and 4 different dispatch centers.
The support that you have for the fire departments and the police departments, that's where this system lives, and it's vital to all of us.
So now we're going to turn it back over to Elle, who's keeping an eye on a couple of very important school district initiatives. The numbers are in. Elle, what do you got?
So right now we are focusing on Ording and Auburn school districts. We want to take a look at the latest numbers. Let's start with Ording Prop 1. This is a $137 million school bond, so it would build a new elementary school and upgrade aging buildings. 24 percentage points separating the two right now in favor of it. Not even 1,000 votes, though, the difference. So this is, if you have a median $550,000 home, you'd pay about $700 a year because of this. This does need 60% approval to pass. Let's go to Auburn now. Auburn voters deciding on a $490 million school bond to build and replace schools, modernize technology, boost safety. Right now, again, voters seemingly in favor, but just 290 votes separating them. And this would cost the median homeowner about $640 a year. Again, needs that 60% approval to pass. But what's really interesting about both of these seeing this support early on, similar bond measures in both Auburn and Ording were presented and failed just last year. Opponents of both saying residents are facing an affordability crisis and now is just not the time. So it'll be really interesting to see if that support carries through. Gary, Monique.
Thanks so much, Elle.
We're going to bring in our team of analysts here, and we're going to ask both county executive. Monique and I were talking about this before. There's a lot of people that put a lot of stock into the mayor's race and don't even know really what the county executive does. And they have to be reminded that sometimes, every time you flush the toilet, you are affected by water and sewer policies the county executive manages. Your thoughts on the numbers from Gurmai so far?
I think that this is a very tight race. Both of these candidates have very similar policies. In fact, Gurmai said that he was not running a contrast campaign. So this is really more about the personalities of each of them as an executive. And let's not forget that the county executive oversees a budget that is so much larger than the city of Seattle's. So this really does impact every single person who lives in King County, which has more than 50% of the voters in the state. So this is a very big deal. I think either of these candidates is going to be an extremely capable executive who have great experience on the county council already. They're very well versed in the issues facing voters, facing their communities. It's going to be a nail biter, and I don't think either of those campaigns are going to sleep knowing for sure who's going to win.
Have a couple of days full of coffee and sleeplessness for them. Given that the later votes do tend to swing a little bit to the left, Alex, do you think that that applies to the King County executive race? And if so, who does that benefit?
Well, I would say that Gurmai is modestly more liberal than Claudia, and if you were required to differentiate between the two, you probably would. But I think the feature that probably is most important to talk about is that Gurmai represents a rural part of the county, much more rural than Claudia's district. And while Gary, you note that when you flush the toilet, that's important in Seattle. Yeah. But if you live outside of the city limits, the King County Executive is a definitively important office for you because it controls so much about your quality of life, your safety, and it is the government that provides you your key local government services. And so in this regard, I think that Gurmeet, because his district represents more of those people and it has more rural nature, I actually feel that I agree with Stephen that they're both pretty reasonable people, but in some regards, I view this as a good result if you are a rural King County resident.
And here we look at the results so far with Gurmeet Zahalai in a 51% to 49% lead over Claudia Balducci for King County Executive right now. I'd like to back up a little bit and take a little bit of a higher view of what is happening tonight. Again, we still have days more of results coming. But Stephen, what is your party looking at in all of these races tonight, in this election? What tea leaves are there? What are you trying to find out about your party, given that this is a very blue area?
I want to even go out even farther than that. Okay. Let's go to the East Coast, where we just won the Virginia governor, where we just won the New Jersey governor, where we won the Virginia Attorney General, where Zohran Mamdani is elected mayor of the largest city in the country. That has carried over into our state. So what started as a very good night for Democrats nationally has kept going to a very good night for Democrats in Washington state. The 2 state Senate seats that were up that would not have determined the majority in the state Senate, but would have determined just how much of a margin we have to push for things that are going to protect core services, given the budget constraints we have, thanks to the Republicans cutting our funding on the national level, is going to make sure that we are able to deliver for the people of Washington. So I think it's a great night for Democrats here in Washington state. I think it's a great night for Democrats here in the United States of America. And now we can finally give a big sigh of relief and focus 100% on the midterms next year.
Alex, what gives you reason to be optimistic moving forward? And there haven't been a lot of people with an R next to their names almost anywhere. In fact, I'm amazed that I saw the vote on Capitol Hill. Savage, who identified with kind of MAGA Republicans, got actually a little bit of a blip of a vote there. I mean, I don't know if that was a statement, but that was on Capitol Hill. Yeah.
There are very few communities that are worse than 80-20 on anything, right? So that's just how humans work. But it is interesting. I would argue that she identified more as a non-traditional Republican because she talked a lot about some of these difficulties in her personal life. And that's usually not the cliche Republican. It's the blue blazer, with his Mont Blanc pencil. But let's dial in. I think it was a good night for the Democrats. I think we need to be factually accurate about that. But there are going to be some challenges because tonight wasn't mostly about Democrat versus Republican. It was mostly about Democrat versus Democrat because the most important elections were in large cities, where we now see a new force inside the Democratic Party coming from outside the Democratic Party. And no, this is more muted in Washington state, but around the country, there is a group, the Democrat Socialists of America, which operates as a separate political party that has deliberately decided to enter into national Democratic Party politics. It's essentially what happened in New York and Minnesota, and even to a more muted sense right here in Seattle. And these folks, I'm going to pull a word out of the past, but the DSA is actually using it. They call their strategy entryism. And if you're an old-time political consultant, not so old because this is back to like the 1930s, this is a strategy of the far left to move into the center left. And Democrats nationwide are going to have to decide what they want to do about this. And because establishment Democrats are the #1 target of the Democrat Socialists of America. They're going to be defeating Stephen's friends a lot more often than they're going to be defeating my friends. And that's going to create a complication because right now the establishment Democrats aren't particularly high energy. They don't have a lot of thoughts. They're oftentimes exceedingly preposterously old. And so having a young, more energetic person come along, even if their ideas are problematic, is going to be pretty powerful in the Democratic Party.
I feel like without seeing it, I can feel Stephen twitching. So I've got to ask you though, but given what Alex is saying, this sounds like the same conversation that we could have had about Republicans 10 plus years ago, right?
And
so do you, and so do you see some truth in that?
I think Alex is right. In the cities, you're going to see Democrats versus Democrats because that's who lives in the cities. But I think nationally and in the swing districts, which is what's going to determine control of the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate, Democrats nationally are running authentic candidates who represent their communities. They might be Democratic Socialist of America. They might be a blue dog Democrat, but they are going to represent their constituents. They're going to put forward a proactive vision of what they want to accomplish and results that they can be measured by, and voters are going to respond to that, as they did tonight.
Well, there's a lot to be decided between the far right, the far left, and all of us who are, covering everything right down the middle. So
and by the votes that have still yet to be counted as well, right?
Yes, yeah. But this was fun. Thank you very much, Stephen and Alex. This is great. Fun. We love doing this every year. We continue to bring you results as they come down tonight at 11 throughout the rest of the week. The moment we learn any breaking developments, we'll let you know here and on our app, KIRO7.com.
Thank you so much for trusting KIRO 7 News with Gary Horker. I'm Monique Minglavin, and we'll see you on KIRO 7 at 11 o'clock tonight.